Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
And what is going on and how y'all doing this beautiful Sunday morning? This is the Club of the Man 1993. Not live for Dynamite, but I will go live later for SmackDown. I do have to catch up because, busy times as always. So because I'm behind, I'll do Dynamite recorded and then SmackDown do that one live. I do have to finish watching SmackDown though because I did start watching it last night. But I got tired and I fell asleep. So I'll be doing that one live later on today. But for now, I'm going to be at least doing this Dynamite review pre-recorded. I will, of course, address, we've all heard about the CM Punk rumors. But also, apparently, coming up in June, I believe it is, they'll be starting a Saturday night show from 8 to 10 called AEW Collision. We'll talk about it when I get to it. But yeah, so again, this is my review of the April 12th, 2023 edition of Dynamite. And it took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've really been digging Dynamite lately. Again, I really like how they're presenting a lot of fresh feuds, a lot of fresh faces. There's people like Swerve starting to get TV time again. Keith Lee had an excellent main event match, and it looks like they're starting to hopefully let the cuffs come off them. Not completely yet, but kind of like how it was when he was in NXT. Slow at the beginning, but once they knew they were going to give him a more serious push, they would start letting the cuffs slowly come off him. And even though, again, I do not approve the white hair, I, one, still do respect that that's what Keith Lee wants, but two, just seeing his performance against Chris Jericho just made me again just realize, you know what? Again, the white hair I can overlook. The guy is still awesome in the ring. He's it's something I can live with. And of course, we had Darby Allin having his promo with MJF and also Sting as well. So lots of story advancements. Again, I'm really intrigued by Double or Nothing. We're having some pretty good build to it so far, I would say. This Fatal 4-Way is going to be fire. Again, I am hoping, they've already done, the other, challengers saying their piece. So, again, I'm hoping that they'll get this to, Double or Nothing for this Fatal 4-Way. At this point, they should. We're a month and a half away. I'm worried they're going to maybe waste it, in a few weeks or something like that. But we'll see. Trying to think what else there was. There's a couple other things, of course, I'm sure we will talk about when we get to it. Couple little nitpicks, nothing really too major. But first, before I talk about... And actually, I remember what I was going to say. Next week's episode of Dynamite is here in Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, though, because, I'm watching my finances because of the wedding and some other things we got for the house and whatnot, I am not going to be attending Dynamite this coming Wednesday, even though it's going to be in town. Maybe next time, but not this time, unfortunately. Although, seems to be a pretty solid setup, though, for next week. So I am, intrigued to see what will be coming this coming Wednesday. But, gotta talk about this Wednesday first. So, Dynamite. Let's talk about it. The show opened up with Darby Allin taking on Swerve Strickland. Again, they're definitely cooking up the feud again with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, which is nice to see. Whenever those two, especially Swerve, and Keith, of course, as well, but when Swerve has been given his opportunities, You know, you go back to like when he, when he was getting somewhere with Hit Row before they got released, which, quite frankly, I think Hit Row would be in a much better place right now if Swerve was still there. Again, I keep saying this, I just feel like they've tried Hit Row without Swerve. It ain't working without Swerve. And of course, with Vince McMahon looming around, oh God. We'll talk about that another time, of course. But what Swerve is doing in AEW is awesome. Now, I will say one thing, though. So, Brian Cage re-signed with AEW. I think he was considering maybe looking into WWE, but Vince McMahon came around, you know what that means. He is someone I think should have still considered going to WWE. Because, again, AEW is just, there's just not the room for him. And I think he's been more Ring of Honor based since Ring of Honor came back, but he's still getting TV time in AEW. But he's been around long enough that I feel like he should have gotten somewhere else as a single star. But apparently now, the embassy in Ring of Honor is now teaming with Swerve. And they're calling themselves, the Mogul Global Embassies? I can't remember what it was. But, because before, when Swerve first, turned on Keith, he formed a new stable with Parker Bordeaux and Trench, and called themselves the Mogul Affiliates. Not sure what happened with that, but I'm not sure if that's being dropped, and now they're having Swerve join forces with the embassy, or what it is. So that's a little nitpick there, but take that away, and again, this match with Darby was outstanding. Swerve, again, is definitely one of the best. When you give him the opportunities to shine, he will knock them out of the park. Him and Darby had very, very good chemistry. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they have a match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament? I'm pretty sure they did, but that's when they were both faces. Now that they're both heels, even though Swerve, for the longest time as a face, was teasing a more heelish persona at times. But this is where Swerve is full on heel. But it was excellent. But Darby Allin does get the victory with the Last Supper. Afterwards, though, here out comes MJF. He comes out and gives Darby credit where it's due. That was an incredible match with Swerve. And impressive since his daddy Sting wasn't out there. But of course it was great because Allen's great, and if anybody would know, it's him, because they had one of the greatest matches in the history of wrestling at Full Gear 2021. I believe that opened the show. That was a great match and a great feud between the two of them. Even though he's a shitty little emo schmuck, pound for pound, he's one of the best people he's ever been in the ring against. But two words to say that will prove that MJF is better than him, and those two words are headlock takeover, which I believe is how he beat Darby at Full Gear. He beat him with a maneuver so simple, and Darby thinks he can take the world title? He knows Darby's about as bright as everyone in this arena, but he's not on the level of the devil. Darby says back when they worked indies together, MJF said when he made it to national television, everything would change. But everything, though, is still the same. He felt the same way, but when he got to AEW, he started therapy because he didn't want to be happy on the outside while he was dying on the inside like MJF is. He learned it didn't matter about his success as long as his family are living beautiful lives. He's used his AEW money to buy his parents a house and help his dad retire. Personal promos like this are always like what really, gets you invested because, again, these characters are not playing a character. They're playing themselves, and that's what Darby is. He also mentions that Sting isn't his daddy. He's just his best friend in this entire company. And all this is a 15-minute ride, and he refuses to get off the ride, wondering who all these random people in his personal life are. He's not like Max. He won't lower his morals to be somebody in this world. So if he's got something to say, keep talking. And Max says, Darby, you're not special. I'm sick of hearing you whine about morals because morals kill careers in this spot, and that's a fact. He stands here like he's some kind of daredevil, but Max thinks he's a gutless coward who doesn't have the balls to make the sacrifices that must be made. Darby thinks he's an idiot, that he's not keenly aware that he might end up on his deathbed alone and he might not go to heaven. He could give a shit because as long as the title comes with him, that's all that matters. And that's the difference between the two of them. He'll do whatever it takes, but Darby won't. He tells Darby, listen up. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to leave a legacy in this sport. And when he's done, he'll be the greatest of all time. And Darby's legacy will just be him being Sting's bitch. Which brings out the icon himself, Sting. Who gets in the ring, howls a few times. He just wants to know where all this daddy daycare talk is. Because he's no daycare. He's more so of a cheerleader. And he pulls out these like black and white pom-poms and just start flicking them at MJF a few times. And he says he's got a fever and the only cure is more pom-poms. And more pom-poms keeps coming out. And obviously MJF's getting pissed. But Sting promises, okay, I'll stop. If you stop talking about this Cody daycare stuff. And he goes, ooh, I said Cody, and the truth hurts. First off, again, the truth hurts saying that, obviously Cody Rhodes helped MJF out when he got there. But also him saying something like, oh my goodness, I just said Cody, because Cody's a big deal these days since he's not in the company, since he lost at WrestleMania. So, ooh, I just said Cody. Like, in your faces. I thought that was quite priceless. But anyways, he says Max has a support system in Kobe and Darby. And Kobe. And Sting has and Darby has Sting. And Sting had the support system from the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Wow! He thanks Nate for putting him on the map and talks about his evolution from Surfer to Crow to Wolfpack to Joker Sting and says what he doesn't have is a thirst for the world title. He'll be real with everybody. Showtime is almost over for him, but it's just starting for Darby Allin. And Darby says he's coming for the title, and then Max just spits in his face. Again, another very great promo there with Darby, and kind of like pleading his case, like telling his story. Just the simple, features of what this build needs to be for his Fatal 4-Way. But Sting getting involved? You think we may get a world title match at some point with MJF and Sting? Maybe? We'll have to wait and see. We will just have to wait and see. Then here was one of the lower points of the match. Well, not quite, but Powerhouse Hobbs, the AEW TNT champion, squashed Silas Young. And afterwards, we see Wardlow outside as QT Marshall and Hobbs are about to do some more damage to Silas Young. But then there's a cut shot where Wardlow, who returned since the first time since he dropped the title to Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wardlow beat up Hobbs' car, and then he even tossed it over with a forklift. And eventually, he came out there and they had a nice brawl. And of course, everybody got out there except for Aaron Solo, who got powerbombed through some tables on the stage. The reason why I say this is a lower point, because although yes, I like Powerhouse Hobbs, I like Wardlow. Why has this TNT title taken such a back seat? No matter who it's on. Okay, it was decent on Joe. The moment Darby won in Seattle was great. They did that there. Okay, cool, but why does this TNT title feel so pointless? At one point, the TNT title felt important. Before it became the international title, the All-Atlantic title, when Pac had it, he more so was defending it more around the world. Since Orange Cassidy has won it, though, it's been defended more often on Dynamite. And it just feels like it's more prestige than the TNT title. It's kind of where you're at a point where it's do they really need to have these two mid-card titles? And just one? I don't know. I just don't understand why they've like really given the TNT title the back seat, you know? But, you know, whatever. We're going to probably have another match between the two of them, which I think actually is next week. I think we're having a rematch, which would be pretty cool. We got Switchblade, Jay White, and Juice Robinson having a video package. They talk about being Bullet Club high rollers, and they're just getting started here because Jay White just signed with AEW. And they call themselves Bullet Club Gold. I'm sure at some point, if we get a feud with like the Bullet Club and the Elite, would be actually pretty darn good. Depending on who else is involved with it. But for now, they're focused on Ricky Starks, it looks like. Speaking of the International Championship, Orange Cassidy and Buddy Matthews had an outstanding match for the International title. This match, the way it was like one of the first times in a while I've remembered AEW giving Buddy Matthews like a single spotlight. Watching this, I felt like I was watching the same Buddy Matthews I got on 205 Live when I became a fan of his. Because before that, didn't care too much for him. But when he became a single star, especially his time in the Cruiserweight Championship tournament, and then when he was feuding for the Cruiserweight title, again, the matches he had with guys like Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, a no DQ match he had, I think it was July 10th, 2018, I think it was, he had. Outstanding match. And even, of course, again, the series of matches he had on Raw with his now tag team partner Malachi Black. Again, he had a singles match with Roman Reigns. He beat Bryan Danielson clean, I think it was. Again, when you give him the chance to shine the spotlight, he knocks it out of the park. He is a very overlooked main eventer. And he was outstanding in this match. And then I guess there was a story going into this match where Orange Cassidy's hand was bothering him. And I guess when he hit the first orange punch, not only did you hear the punch, but I guess he re-aggravated the orange punch with that hand. And then Buddy kept working on the hand for most of the match. And from the counters to psychology, and then finally Cassidy was able to win with a seatbelt pin on Buddy Matthews. But again, this indeed was like a match that showed that how underrated. Again, not only how awesome of a champion Orange Cassidy's been, again, making that trying to call the international title now, making that feel as prestigious as it has. Again, that's been more of the workhorse title than the TNT title since Orange Cassidy's had. He's been an excellent champion. And then it also, again, just reminded us how freaking good Buddy Matthews is. Again, Buddy Matthews is just so overlooked. He's a star. He could be a main eventer when he gets the chance. But that was excellent. Gotta give a lot of praise to that. We also get another weird basement video package with Christian Cage and seemingly repackaged Luchasaurus. And where Christian says, some things have changed. And then it cuts. Whoever they go after next, we'll have to wait and see. We have Renee Paquette interviewing Best Friends with Orange Cassidy. Trent Beretta says Orange's hand is fine, and he's defended the title every week on the run of his life, and he's making the boys jealous. Chuck Taylor then challenges the Aussie Open to come fight Best Friends on Rampage. I guess that was on Rampage. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about. I'll save it till the end. Then we have. Oh yes. This was another big moment in the show. We have Ethan Page in the ring. And Ethan says the firm are currently in a bit of a rough patch. Matt Hardy cracked him over the head with the FTW title. Hook beat the living crap out of Stokely Hathaway, and he's still injured. And there's the whole contract situation. He's a hot mess. He hasn't been able to tan or get a haircut. He still looks 10 times better than you disgusting Milwaukee hillbillies. So he needs answers. He wants Matt to tell him why he did what he did. And apparently, he put some other clause in this contract, apparently. So he wants to know, what is that contract? Because at this moment, he still works for him. So you better get down here now. Out comes Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy. And then Matt says, you gotta read the fine print. He did manipulate him to think he was his best friend because he's the biggest hole of the ass he's ever met in his life. And that's why he worked him into signing the contract. And that contract said that if Hook beat Ethan Page, Matt Hardy and Private Party are no longer with the firm. Because it gives him the right to pick his next match. And the stipulation is that if they beat the firm, they're out. Ethan Page says there's more to the firm, though, than just him and Stokely. And that leads to Lee Moriarty and Big Bill, Big Ass, coming out and attacking them. And it was 3-on-2 until Hook came out. He came out and judo throwed Lee Moriarty and hit a lariat to Ethan Page. And then he starts getting in there and giving some body blows to Big Bill, looking for the T-bone, but then Ethan Page gets up in time to block it. So it's 3-on-3, but the firm is dominating Matt Hardy, Hook, and Isaiah Cassidy. And then the Hardy Boys music hits. And Jeff Hardy makes his AEW return. Now, I've been saying for a while that I think the whole point of, again, Matt Hardy being bought in by the firm, like for his contract, was just something to give him the due, so that way they had something to work whenever Jeff returns. And I still, with the announcing a few weeks ago, what the stipulations is of the final, saying in his recent DUI case, I thought he was going to be out for a little bit longer. But apparently not. He is back. He came out with a chair. He throws the chair at Lee Moriarty and hits the twist of fate. And he also hits a swanton bomb and just a nice, little reunion there. I will say this, though. I think this is Jeff's last chance. I'm pretty sure, again, Tony Khan, the moment that Jeff got arrested again, and we're all just like, Jeff, oh God, it's like, anytime you had a glimmer of hope that Jeff finally, got, and again, before I say more, I always want to say this. Jeez, I wish I would have gone live for this one instead of SmackDown, but I will say this. Again, I'm not somebody who feels that I can fully put myself in someone's shoes like Jeff Hardy, who has his vices, has his struggles. I respect that. But I think, it comes to a point where it's like, the guy's 45 now? He doesn't need to keep doing this. And if wrestling is the problem that has him keep going back to these vices, these addictions, then I really think this is his last chance. Because Tony Khan basically, I told him, you gotta go to rehab. And he has, and he's been gone for a while, so I'm pretty sure they would not have let him back unless they absolutely thought he was clean. But I do agree, this is probably Jeff's last chance. And I also hear rumors that especially if Jeff would not have had to go to rehab and would have, been around, the Hardys think we're supposed to win the tag titles at one point last summer. I think, from what I've heard. So, finish the story the right way, Jeff. I know you think you guys thought the story to be finished was in WWE. That's not how it worked. AEW, of course, is the place where the Hardy Boys can contribute effectively. And again, I think that this is the last chance, and Jeff just can't screw this up. I pray that, again, I can't, say I would frown on Jeff if he went back to his vices again, which I still pray he doesn't, because again, as I keep saying, out of respect, people who suffer from addictions or depression or anything else, I, don't hold it to you, but I also can't fully put myself in their shoes. So I can't completely, trust, not trust, but I can't fully, put myself in their shoes to be able to, critique what they're going through. If that's the respectful way to say it. Again, I respectfully can't say I know how it feels. If that's where I'm trying to go with. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Jeff does that he's back. And I'm hoping we get a nice little thing there. We get a recap of Bryan Danielson stabbing Hangman Page in the eye with a screwdriver. Oh God, the way how this like cool and casual Bryan was when he did that too was just, oh God, it was nuts. You love Psycho Bryan Danielson. Kenny Omega though then sends in a video promo. Thanks to fans and doctors for being so quick, and says he's talked to the Young Bucks every day and he promised they take care of this BCC in the ring. Squeaky Wheel gets the grease. He gets it. You want to make an impact. But they left Don Callis in a pool of his own blood, split his skull open and concussed him. That was too much. He gets it. Don's not the most likable guy, but he's still family. And when you mess with someone's family, you get what you deserve. And it's not going to be blood for blood. It's going to be much, much worse. Ooh. That's probably a tease towards blood and guts. Although, I agree it should be the women. Even though, well, recently there's been a little more juice to the Outcast storyline. Yes, it's kind of been slowing down a tad with it. I will not lie and say I would still prefer the men to have the blood and guts match. Although I still believe the women deserve it also. But if it's not blood and guts, it's going to be a crazy fight. Whatever happens with the Elite and the BCC. The BCC then squashed the hell out of Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa, like the jobbers from the Elite. And then, of course, it ends in a referee stoppage because it's just crazy physical. And then Mox gets on the mic afterwards and asks, where's the Young Bucks? Where's Hangman? Where's Don Callis? But before that, they're all answering that they're all in the hospital. Babies with glass jaws, and it's BCC that puts the Elite in All Elite Wrestling. Then out comes, though, Kenny Omega. He comes out. A smile plays as the Young Bucks coming from behind and starts even though Matt Jackson still has his arm taped up, they start super kicking party in the ring, and Omega joins them with a big beatdown. They beat down on Mox, and of course get the rest of the BCC out, and then Mox is in the corner. And then Kenny slides a toolbox in the ring. He's about to bash Moxley in the head with it. But then the Young Bucks like, no, not that. They hand Moxley, they hand Omega. That's what I say, if the Young Bucks turned on Kenny Omega for John Moxley, holy shit. But they gave Kenny Omega a screwdriver. And then Kenny goes to just launch it in the Moxley's forehead, but then John first John spit in Matt Jackson's face and asks for Kenny to bring it. But then as Kenny goes to bring it, Claudio pulls him out of the ring before he can get destroyed by the screwdriver. Yikes. Again, we have an interview with the embassy saying they're not actually angry. They're very happy because Darby's success is a testimony to Swerve teaching him. And he's still got some score to settle, and they're going to leave with something. What does that mean? Well, we'll find out in a bit. Again, I still don't know what happened with Parker Bordeaux and Trench, but we'll see how it works out with Brian Cage and Prince Nana, whatever heck their names are. We had the Outcasts beating Rio and Sky Blue. Afterwards, the Outcasts did their thing, spraying the green on Rio and hit a triple power bomb on her. And then Jamie Hayter came out trying to make the save, gets overwhelmed until Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, makes the save and gets in a brawl. And I guess she's okay because I heard she had a back injury. But she gets in there, she takes out Ruby Soho and Toni Storm, and then her and Saraya brawl, and then the other Outcast saves Saraya before Britt hits the stomp on Saraya. Again, like I said before, this stuff's still with although Ruby Soho getting involved did put a new light on it, and her explaining everything, did put a whole new light on it. I still have a hard time first off, wanting to boo them because although, of course, there's Rio and Sky Blue that are kind of like been the ones taking most of the beatings, and then Jamie Hayter is making the saves, and then now Britt Baker, of course, has been teased being involved as well, too, but she's been heavily thing. It just still feels like Jamie and Britt are the superior ones. And again, it's like they're trying to pull a double turn here, and I still don't feel this dynamic happening that way. Like I said before, I like Rio, I like Sky Blue, and I like Willow Nightingale too. I'll give her that. Okay, there's basically 5 people there, of course, they could do this, but I feel like they need some other sort of like bigger name babyface, like a Chris Statlander or a Thunder Rosa. Some other bigger babyface, I feel, should be the ones that the Outcasts are kind of like going after more. Like, very like 2010. It took, some proving before Edge and Jericho joined forces with John Cena against the Nexus. Like, I feel like you need some other type of baby face to kind of like make them the superior and having like more of a story. Because if you're just trying to switch, okay, yes, Jamie Hayter is popular, but Jamie Hayter is still supposed to be a heel. Britt Baker, yes, is popular. I feel like, again, like they're I'm going to say this too, the spoiler before I get to the main event. Since Adam Cole's been coming back, they've been heavily focusing on Adam Cole. He's been like closing out every show, whether he's wrestled or he's like just out there getting involved like he did in the main event this week's show. I don't know if it's because of All Access or what, but they are really giving the keys to Adam Cole. So is that success trying to, like, what they're trying to do is have, to try to transform over to Britt? Because although Britt is popular, yes, people love Britt, her character still has, like, that bitch factor to it. And I just feel like it's not quite the right thing to try to get more heat on the Outcasts. Like I keep saying, like, the Outcasts need a little, like, again, if you want to do Rio or Sky Blue or Willow Nightingale, that's fine. But they're still upcomers right now. I'm sorry, again, they're great. They're still upcomers. Okay, Rio, you shouldn't say is an upcomer, but I feel like she's a little bit, she's great, but she's not on the same level as like a Britt Baker or, a Saraya or a Toni Storm. Like, she's not, I don't know what to say. I just don't think she's the right baby face to get like really get over in this. Like, again, like a Chris Statlander or even a Thunder Rosa return. Heck, that creates a fresh feud there. Thunder Rosa and, we've already seen Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm, but of course not with this dynamic. We need to see Thunder Rosa and Ruby Soho. Thunder Rosa and Saraya. Ooh, that's money right there for me. But, again, I just feel like there has to be some other superior baby face on the face side to really make this cook. Just my opinion. And then the main event, we've got Chris Jericho versus Limitless Keith Lee. I love this match. Again, I think this is the first time ever, first off. But as I said earlier, Keith Lee, whenever he starts somewhere new, in NXT, and of course in AEW, it always feels like they handcuff him a little bit. They hold him back a little bit until they're ready to like give him a serious direction. Then they let the cuffs off. Well, this match is where they started to let the cuffs off. Of course, it started off, and again, the last time I can remember where we had "Oh, basket is glory, oh, basket is glory" chant, and when he, of course, like conducted, like, which is, again, I always love it when he does that, was probably while he was tag team champion with Swerve Strickland. But of course, that kind of got knocked back because whenever he was getting that in his match at All Out against the Acclaimed last fall, the "Oh Bask in His Glory" chants changed to "Oh Scissor Me Daddy, oh Scissor Me Daddy," and of course we have the Keith Lee, whoop whoop, Keith Lee, whoop whoop. When Keith Lee is on fire, he is just must-see television. And, of course, this match started with a little bit of comedy. There was, like, Jericho throwing chops, Lee shrugging him off, him doing his shoulder blocks, him, like, pouncing Chris Jericho at times in there as well. And then headbutts, and then I guess I'm trying to remember where it was at, but what happened. But somehow Jericho is on his knees, and then Keith Lee like got gone down and whatnot, whatever it was called. But anyways, there was a moment in the match where Keith Lee just leaned down and kissed Chris Jericho on the head, and Jericho's like, I'm pretty sure, one, if it was 2016, not only would Keith Lee be called a stupid idiot, he'd be getting put on the list. He'd be knocking people down the list to put Keith Lee higher up on the list. But again, the match was awesome. Again, we had Keith Lee, doing his chops, doing his pouncing, doing his quick maneuvers. He even, of course, did a moonsault as well, which was awesome. But of course, it didn't work out for him when he did it. Well, it didn't put Jericho away. Daniel Garcia got involved a little bit on the ropes, trying to help him out. And of course, I think there was a spirit bomb that was in there. But then the referee was distracted by Daniel Garcia. And then a masked figure, though, came out, though, and cracked Keith Lee in the face with an object. And, of course, when the masked figure crawled back into the crowd and took his mask off, it was revealed to be Swerve Strickland. So Daniel Garcia, Chris Jericho crawls over and pins Keith Lee with the help from Strickland, and he gets the victory. So that, of course, is good. When Swerve earlier said they have some unfinished business, they're fueling back up the feud with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Give me that match at Double or Nothing. Again, when they brought Lee back, it was too close to Revolution. But, of course, now we have some time. They're going to build on it properly, and we're going to get the match at Double or Nothing, which will be outstanding. Again, if Swerve was looking excellent against Darby, and they're letting the cuffs off Keith in this match, best believe that's going to be a hell of a match. Afterwards, though, Daniel Garcia helps Jericho to his feet. And then in promos earlier, where Keith Lee mentioned how 3 years ago, him and Adam Cole had a feud, which I couldn't say where because it was NXT. But they were talking about whenever Keith Lee beat Adam Cole to become both the NXT North American and the NXT champion. And he says how they both have much respect for each other. Adam Cole came out and checked on Keith Lee and offered a fist bump, which is reciprocated. Of course, this also reminded me when they originally wanted to bring Adam Cole up to the main roster, shave his head, call him Adam Boom, because they didn't want to get him mixed up with Michael Cole, Adam Cole and Michael Cole, and they wanted to make Adam Cole Keith Lee's manager. This reminded me of that, but nope, that didn't happen. But as they are leaving, they have this shot where they turn their backs on Jericho and Garcia, and Cole kind of like looked over his shoulder, but again, it was kind of like how last week Jericho kind of like looked over his shoulder but didn't want to acknowledge Adam Cole. Now Adam Cole did want to acknowledge Chris Jericho. So what are they going to say when they finally do lay eyes on each other? It's like, acknowledge me! Say my... Well, okay. Not going to go there because that guy is trouble, but we got, acknowledge me! That's what he wanted. That's what Jericho wants. Adam Cole and Chris Jericho want them to acknowledge each other. But it's not happening. That's the show. Man, I wish I would have gone live for this. I think this was more For what I saw from SmackDown so far, it's fine, but I would have rather gone live for this rather than SmackDown, if I'm being 100% honest. I should have gone live for this and recorded SmackDown. But I still got to finish it, though. But before I go anywhere, briefly want to address that apparently in late June, around the time where CM Punk is rumored to be coming back, they're going to be starting a 2-hour show on Saturdays called AEW Collision. And it's going to be from 8 to 10. My thing is first off, the rumors are that CM Punk is going to be the star of it. Okay? But also, if they're going to have a show on Saturdays from 8 to 10, then what's the point of Rampage? What's the point also of having 2 YouTube shows, AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation? I get that the roster is big, and yes, maybe a brand split would be necessary, but why don't they just move Rampage to Saturdays and make that 2 hours and split the rosters? Because it's starting to get a little too much TV. Like, I want to see CM Punk when he comes back. But I'm also thinking, this is getting too much. Like, even right now, I barely have the time to review 3 shows a week on top of other content. I'm a little iffy about this. Like, I think the one thing that would help is if they would get rid of Rampage. They should get, if they want to do Collision, I'd say get rid of Rampage. But I guess in order for me to even see it as unique, you would probably have to have them you probably have to have them have a brand split. Especially also, like I said earlier, you can still have 1 world title. There's 2 women's titles. See, that kind of concerns me there. Because there's going to be 2 women's titles. I guess you keep the TBS title as like a mid-card, like upcoming star title. Like, to me, the TBS title is no more than what the FTW title is. It's just like an upcoming star title. The women's division, although it has a decent amount of people, it's not big enough still with the depth for like a mid-card title for the women's. And then of course you got the world. I guess you can have the world tag titles on one show and the trios tag titles on another if you wanted to do it that way. But I don't know if it's going to work. But point is, again, Rampage will be pointless at this point. Having 2 YouTube shows would kind of be pointless. Why not just do like Dynamite and Collision? Or again, why not just move Rampage to Saturdays, make that 2 hours? And plus also, if Collision gets moved to Saturdays, what's going to happen with pay-per-views? Because some are Saturdays. Which honestly, especially since AEW pay-per-views are always longer, I prefer, especially since WWE has been having more Saturday pay-per-views, I prefer Saturday pay-per-views. Because of, timing and whatnot, and we all have to work in the mornings and whatnot. I prefer them on Saturdays. So, we'll see what happens, but just want to get my brief thoughts out there on that. But yeah, this will be almost 45 minutes. I should have done this live. This should have been a live show. But I will go live later to talk about SmackDown. I gotta finish watching it. But I would give AEW Dynamite this week a B+. I thought Dynamite was pretty good. Again, I love the storytelling progression. Again, the 2 nitpicks I have was the stuff with the TNT title and the stuff with the Outcasts. Also kind of wondered again what happened with like the Mogul affiliates. Why is Swerve now teaming with? Unless it's something happened on Rampage. And again, I don't watch Rampage because I don't have the time really. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, I gave the show a B+. Excellent show. Excellent main event also as well. And don't also overlook that international title match as well with Orange Cassidy and Buddy Matthews. That was awesome as well. But guys, I'm checking out of here. I gave Dynamite a B+. What are your guys' thoughts on Dynamite for this week? Leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at the Club with the Man 93. Also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club with the Man 1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. Guys, always remember, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself.